and welcome to our next episode of the Hormone Café. I'm Dr. Sarah Pederson. I'm an OB-GYN, and I specialize in holistic medicine and restorative reproductive surgery. In today's episode, we're going to go over the 6 pillars of hormone balance. So there are 6 different things that can all contribute to imbalance or an imbalance in your hormones. So the 6 pillars are diet, sleep, stress, exercise, weight, and spirituality and mentality. So we'll start with number 1, which is diet. And we'll go into this in a lot more detail in a future podcast and outline the hormone diet. But in general, of course, what you eat is really, really important for your hormone balance. You can be eating the right amount of calories, but the wrong amount of food groups, and that cannot balance your hormones. Or you can be eating too much, or not enough of certain vitamins. So the way you eat is extremely, extremely important to your hormone balance. So you will need to eat in a way where your glucose is stable all day long. You're having enough nutrients to support your estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone production, in addition to the other hormones that are important, right? Like our thyroid hormone, our adrenal glands. So diet is extremely important. If we're thinking about just general guidelines, things that I really walk through with my patients are you getting enough protein? Everything in hormone and fertility world is what I call a Goldilocks number. Too much is not good, and too little is not good either. So you really want to make sure you're getting the right amount of protein for your body. And then you want to get those other nutrients in a specific ratio balanced out with the protein. So most women need some carbohydrates. That's why women don't do very well with keto and paleo, because there are really specific vitamins in carbohydrates that we need as women in order to promote our natural estrogen production. However, we need complex carbohydrates instead of simple carbohydrates. So it is important that we have a certain amount of carbohydrates throughout our day. We just don't want to overdo it, and we want to eat the right carbohydrates. The other thing is fat. Women actually need fat because fat and cholesterol is a precursor to hormones. So fat's a precursor to estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. So also no-fat diets are not very good for us because women need a little bit of fat. Other important things, we need a lot of vitamins. So we need a lot of vegetables and fruit in order to make sure that we're really rounding out those vitamins. Vegetable diversity is very important. We want to make sure that we're having all kinds of different vegetables every day. I tell my patients in a perfect world we should be eating 3 to 6 vegetables a day. And then the last thing is that we really need to be eating a lot of omega-3s. If you look at the top 10 omega-3 foods, they're all fish. Every single one. Fish, 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 fish. And then number 11 is chia seeds. So for those of us who don't really like fish that much, or we're not eating fish 2 to 3 times a week, we need to be taking an omega-3 vitamin about 1,000 milligrams a day. So those are just all the things that we need to be eating on a daily basis to round out our hormones. And then we need to be careful of our omega-3 to omega-6 ratio. And omega-6s are our seed oils. So when we think about sunflower, saffron, canola oil, we really, really want to make sure that we're not getting a lot of that in our diet. We can have a little bit. It's just super easy to overdo it because omega-6s are literally in everything that's in a package and almost everything that we eat when we go out to eat. So it's not that we can never eat anything in a package or never go out to eat. We just don't want to make that the routine. We don't want to make that something that we do every single day. We want to make that something that we do rare and special as a treat so that we're not building up omega-6s inside of our body and we have way more omega-3s relative to our omega-6s. So diet, very, very important for our hormone balance. The next pillar of hormone balance is sleep. Sleep is the cornerstone of our health. I think it's really easy to blow off sleep, especially when we're really busy. There's things that we need to be doing late at night. We're night owls. We do our best work late at night. We have to fight that tendency because it really is important to get a good night's sleep, because sleep sets your metabolism for the next 24 hours. So if you get a good night's sleep, you can regulate your metabolism for the next day. If your metabolism is not regulated, then your body will be stressed. And if your body is stressed, it won't be able to make hormones in proper amounts, because your body makes hormones when you're calm and relaxed and not in a state of stress. So that's why sleep is so important. In a perfect world, we need to get 7 to 9 hours of sleep. And that depends a little bit on your body. Some women need closer to 7, some women need 9. Personally, my body needs 8 hours of sleep. If I get 8 hours of good quality sleep, I'll wake up feeling good and refreshed, but I need 8. If I get 7.5, I'm not going to be feeling good. Also, we want to start going to bed around 10 o'clock. When we think about our circadian rhythm, our body is making the most natural melatonin around that 9 and 10 o'clock hour. So when we think about sleep, it's also really important to have good sleep hygiene and a good sleep routine. So starting at least 1 hour before we go to bed, we want to make sure that we're getting a cool down. So we're not doing any blue light, and then we have a little routine that tells our bodies to calm down and not make melatonin. Another thing that we really want to do is, if we're the kind of person that we're just thinking and oh, I got to do this and this and this and this, you really have to have a healthy way to manage that so that it's not affecting your sleep. Because sometimes we'll wake up wide awake in the middle of the night because our cortisol levels were so high and so activated in that hour before we were trying to fall asleep. So whether that's transition those negative thoughts into a positive thought, whether that's write it down in a journal, we need to be doing something so that we can really calm our thoughts down and set aside any work or worries that we have and focus on falling asleep. So we want to do at least a 1 hour sleep hygiene routine in that hour before we're going to bed, and then we want to be in bed at 10 o'clock. And sometimes this is really, really difficult. It might be that you need to have an accountability partner, like your husband or roommate or somebody that you live with, that says, okay, we're going to bed at 10. It's also a little bit difficult if the people that you live with aren't on the same schedule as you. So if your husband is a night owl, it's going to be really tempting to stay up late with him. So just really fight for your sleep. It's so important for your health. And then we want to get around that 8 hours of sleep, somewhere between 7 and 9, and then wake up at 6. And we want to wake up, not snooze or lay in bed, because that snoozing in bed, that's not high quality sleep. And the reason that you want to just wake up is because that's when your body will start making cortisol. And cortisol is a natural, healthy hormone, but we can overdo it or underdo it. So we want to make sure that our bodies are making cortisol within 1 hour of waking up. So we wake up, we get up for the day, our body's making its maximum amount of cortisol around 2 hours after we wake up. So usually around that 8 o'clock in the morning. So please, if you're a person that is a night owl, or you're just a person that really doesn't get a lot of sleep, please fight for your sleep. It's very, very important. And if you do have a sleep deficit, so let's say you had a night where you only got 6 hours of sleep and you're a person that needs 8, then you want to make up for that in the course of 7 days. So then you want to have 2 nights where you get an extra hour of sleep, or you really do want to catch up on the weekend. So you want to make up for that sleep deficit within a 7-day period. Because sometimes we think, I'll sleep when I'm dead. But when you sleep and really fight for your sleep, it will actually improve your longevity, your overall health, and of course, your hormone balance. Then the third pillar of hormone balance is stress. And stress is difficult because there's going to be stressors in our life. It's not reasonable to say, just don't stress about it, because we are going to stress. It's just that we need healthy ways to process and manage our stress and not let it get so out of control that we're legitimately increasing our cortisol levels all day long. Here's an example. I had a patient who came to me and she was having regular cycles, but she really wasn't ovulating well. and she was so stressed out. She had this job that was really, really stressful, and it was clearly affecting her hormones. And then she felt like at night she had to log back on and do all this work before she went to bed. And so she was just amped always before she went to bed. So things that we had her do is outline the most important things that she needed to be doing in her job, and then have a talk with her boss to see what we could outsource, and then have a talk with her boss about setting boundaries so that she could maintain that healthy sleep hygiene. Because for this particular patient, yes, in a perfect world, we would all have the best job ever. And sometimes we really do need to get a new job, but sometimes it's not very practical to have to get a new job. So then we need to figure out, with our current circumstance, how do we not let the stress get to us? And so I actually measured her cortisol levels. So we have a test that we do where we measured her cortisol levels morning and then before lunch, after lunch, and at night. And in the morning, her cortisol levels were okay. But after lunch, they were sky high. And then right before she went to bed, they were sky high. So we thought about, okay, what are the core functions that you need to be doing in your job, and what do you need to offset? And what is happening after lunch where you're just stressed out all the time? And that was the time where she had a meeting with this one boss. And sometimes you can't move the meeting with your boss, but just knowing it enables you to take actionable things to literally decrease your stress. So we talked about different ways that we could empower her to, when she has this meeting, it doesn't stress her out. Because sometimes stress is kind of like being hungry, right? We're all going to get hungry. It's just inevitable. But there are things that we can do to prevent us from being hungry, right? Like we can prep our food. We can plan ahead. We can have snacks available. We can have high protein snacks so that our blood sugar doesn't plummet and we get hangry. Stress is kind of the same way. So if there's a stressor in your life that you can anticipate, we need to be doing things to look and see that and actively bring those stress levels down. So being able to log out of work, like she still had to log in at night sometimes in work. She just needed to make a hard stop around 9 o'clock so she could be in bed at 10 and not continue to work until 10. And just having that conversation with her boss that said, okay, I'm going to log back in, but I'm going to have a hard stop at 9. And her boss said, okay, that makes sense. It's perfectly fine. So in 3 months, we rechecked her cortisol levels and they were way, way better. So she had that amazing actionable data that what she was doing was legitimately working, and she was getting a way better night's sleep. And then her body started ovulating again. She didn't even need to take any medications, just learning about how to manage her stress levels, not to let stressful things affect her body in a way where it's really escalating her cortisol. She legitimately brought down her cortisol levels, and then we saw she had this beautiful ovulation pattern and beautiful flow. So those things are very, very important. Stress is a big effect, has a big effect on our hormones, mostly suppressive. So being just chronically stressed out can really suppress your body's ability to make hormones, because hormones are produced when our bodies are happy and healthy, because that's how we're designed to reproduce. When we're in a safe place, when we're not stressed, our bodies will make enough hormones and will reproduce. But if we're really stressed, the last thing our body is going to do is make hormones. So really pay attention to your stress and how it's literally affecting you and your cortisol levels. The fourth pillar of hormone balance is exercise. Exercise is one of those things where you want to find the right pattern of exercise for your hormone profile, because sometimes you can under-exercise or over-exercise. If you're a person who has a low hormone profile, for example, low testosterone or low estrogen, you actually don't want to exercise a ton, because then you're just burning off all of your hormones. So it's really important to get your hormones checked, learn about what your hormone profile is, and then be able to tailor your exercise plan to your hormone profile. Some red flags are you always want to feel rejuvenated after a workout. You never want to feel like it's totally exhausting you, because if you're feeling really, really drained, that could mean that it's stressing you out and it's burning off some of your hormones. In general, in a perfect world, we would get at least 30 minutes of exercise about 4 times a week. And when we think about those 30 minutes, we want half of it to be weight-bearing exercise and half of it to be cardio. If you're a person who has a different exercise regimen, it might be totally fine. I would just make sure that that exercise that you're doing is supporting your natural hormone production and not burning off your hormones, because we do need to exercise. We need to strengthen our core, our pelvic floor. We need to promote blood flow to our uterus and our ovaries. We just want to make sure we're doing it in a way where we're feeling excellent and not feeling burnt down. The 5th pillar of hormone balance is weight. And weight is tricky because it can really also have a big impact on your hormones, but sometimes it's hard to know what we should be doing with our weight. So what I tell people is that you really just want your body to be at the weight that it feels best at. Usually we have a weight in mind where our body feels best. I really try not to have I never have it as a goal to patients that I want them to gain a lot of weight or lose a lot of weight. I just want them to feel their best self every single day, and just whatever that is for their body. Because sometimes if we don't have enough weight, then our body can be a little bit stressed and not be able to put energy into making hormones. Or if we have a little bit too much weight, that can make our body have too much hormones on board, or hormone deficiencies, just depending on your body type. And so weight is very important, but we want to think of it less as, okay, I'm stressed out because now I have to hit this certain weight, and more as, how do I nourish my body so that I feel excellent in my body every single day? And then the 6th pillar of hormone balance is spirituality and mentality. And this, of all the pillars, is probably the most important one, because our positive mental space is extremely, extremely important. And there's lots of studies that show that meditation or prayer, setting ourselves up for success in this part of our routine at a specific time that we set aside every single day, can really improve our cortisol levels and our longevity. And it's important because hormone balance sometimes can take a long time. For example, if we have a 30-day cycle, we don't even know if our hormones, our balance are feeling good, or if what we're doing is working for another 30 days. So it's important to have tools and tricks where we ground ourselves every day. We have a positive attitude, because sometimes feeling like your hormones are off can be really, really hard on our mentality. It can make us feel really low and stressed and anxious. And if we're trying to get pregnant, getting our period every month is so devastating and sometimes really depressing. So it's really, really helpful that whatever it is that we need, that we're able to put ourselves in a space where we're mentally thriving and feeling our best selves mentally, no matter what we're going through, and that we can really visualize our best self. Visualize ourselves feeling amazing every day, having regular cycles, no PMS, ovulating every single month, so that we have something to shoot for both physically and mentally. Because hormone balance, it takes a long time. It can be really mentally taxing. So I really emphasize mental health with my patients and in my practice, because it's so vital for our bodies and our hormones. So do a little mental health check-in with yourself. Make sure that no matter what's coming your way, no matter how you see your future, you see it as something positive and not something negative. If you look at your future and you're feeling negative or anxious, then that's something that we want to make sure we're changing over to a positive attitude and thinking those positive thoughts and really visualizing our future self in a positive light. So 6 pillars of hormone balance. Everything that needs to go well in order for us to balance our hormones includes our diet, our sleep, stress, exercise, weight, and then spirituality and mentality. So if you feel like any of these are off, or you need to work on any of them, or you want to check your hormones and make sure that we are supporting you in all of those pillars, please come see me. I have a practice called Vera Health and Fertility. It's in Denver, Colorado, and you can schedule online, verafertility.com. Thank you for joining us today at the Hormone Café. And next episode, we'll be talking about really specific food needs in order for us to have the best hormone profile ever.